So this is a back care class. It's designed to just mobilise and loosen up your back. So if you are prone to like tweaking your back or just getting that stiffness in your back, or your back is just a bit niggly sometimes, this is perfect class for you. If you have issues with your back, if you know that you have a disc issue or you have an injury or something like that, it's worth checking with your doctor or your physio just to see what exercises you are not supposed to do, because this class is based on me assuming that you have a really healthy back, and all the movements to mobilise your spine in all directions. So if you're happy to carry on, you need a half dome or a rolled up towel, a strap, and then maybe a cushion or something to sit on. So we're going to start standing, and we're going to start with our calf stretch. So grab your half dome or your rolled up towel, and then place the ball of your foot towards the top and heel down onto the floor, and then step your other leg to about hip width apart. Once you're there, just allow your body to relax. So checking in for tension. Let's start with the eyebrows. So check that you aren't frowning, you've not got those little lines between your eyebrows. Let your eyes just soften. Let your jaw relax, so making sure that you aren't clenching your teeth. Neck and shoulders just relaxed. Ribs are down. Keeping your weight back through the heel of the leg that's on that dome. And see if you can let the fronts of your thighs relax so that you're not gripping, you're not holding everything really tight. You're just kind of allowing things to just settle. And once you're there, if you're happy, you can see if you can step that free leg maybe a little bit further forwards. But if that makes you feel like you're going to fall back, or you just lost your alignment somewhere, then just take that foot back. There's no rush to get it forwards. It's about getting all of the pieces into place. I'm going to step mine back a little bit. And then just take some deep breaths. So the reason that I'm starting with the calf stretch really in a back class is that tension in the calves obviously travels up through the body. So if you've got tension through your calves, you'll have tightness through your hamstrings. And if you're tight through your hamstrings or your upper thigh, it pulls your pelvis out of position. It tends to create that kind of tucked position, which can then obviously travel up your spine. So we're starting by just giving ourselves that little bit of space down the back of the leg to allow our pelvis to find a more aligned position, because quite often it can be the pelvis that can throw everything out. So that's why we're starting with our calf stretch, and also it's one of my favourites, and it just goes with everything. This is the one, this is the exercise. If you're only going to do one thing, it would be this. Let's do the other side. So same thing, ball of the foot towards the top of the dome, heel down, and then step your other leg to about a hip width apart. Do your little scan for tension again, so making sure you're not frowning or clenching your teeth. Neck and shoulders relaxed, ribs relaxed. Weight back through that heel of the leg that's on the dome. Can you let your thighs be as relaxed as possible? And once you're happy, just see, can you step that leg a little bit further forwards? And then just take some deep breaths, just allowing your body to find that extra length, to find that release. And it will, you know, because when you first get into the stretch, everything's kind of a bit tight and you can kind of feel, and then eventually your body just releases and allows that extra space. And that's what we're looking for. So just a couple more breaths here. And then we're just going to do each side again, just because sometimes when you do the stretch the first time, it doesn't release enough. So let's go back and do that first side again, exactly the same thing. Ball of the foot to the top, heel down, and step your other leg forwards. Do your little scan again, make sure everything's in the right place. And maybe this time you can step a little bit further forwards. And if you can't, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to stay here for a few breaths. Keep checking all of the time, making sure that you aren't fist clenching or jaw clenching or toe scrunching. Let everything just be as it is. We have enough tension and stress in our life without creating more by our movement. Let's do other side. Again, usually the second time around it feels a little bit easier. Sometimes on the morning when I get up and I just kind of feel a bit stiff, I'll just do calf stretch and I'll just kind of keep going from side to side a few times and it really makes a huge difference. If you don't have a half dome and you've got a rolled up towel, it's really useful. I really like it in the bathroom by the sink, so that when you're brushing your teeth, you can do your little calf stretch on a morning and night, and then it's like, just becomes part of your routine then, so you don't really have to think about it too much. Okay, let's get rid of that half dome now, and we're going to come down onto our back. So lie yourself down on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat. Now I've just got a couple of cushions just because of that dizziness, so I've just propped up a little bit today. Okay. And then staying here, I want you to take your hands behind your head. So interlace your fingers and then put your hands behind your head and see if you can get them right at the base of your skull. And I want you to, we're going to create some traction. So you're kind of lifting your skull and your traction in your neck. So it'll make you drop your chin a little bit. So let your chin drop a little bit. And then think about lifting the back of the skull up so that you're getting a stretch through your neck. Keep your head resting down, resting in your hands, but you're creating that traction and that stretch. And just take some deep breaths here. And then let's try lengthening your legs out long. Can you stretch your legs away? Again, keep lifting and lengthening the back of the neck. And just take some deep breaths. We tend to be very short and tight through the neck and the shoulders. So this is just a really nice way of giving us some length, getting rid of any tension there. Okay, just take a couple more breaths here. And then try and keep that length through your neck now as you let your hands come out and away. So we want to keep that chin just tilted slightly down, length through the back of the neck. And then I want you to bring your knees into your chest now. So bring your knees in, take hold of your knees and just rock gently side to side. So this is a nice way again just to massage out any tension. Just get a little bit of pressure onto your lower back. And then let your arms just come down by your sides and just allow your knees to just rock gently side to side. So just allow your body to go where it feels okay. So there's no kind of rules here. I'm not saying about keeping your ribs down or anything like that. I just want you to just move side to side. Let your knees go over as far as feels good to you. So you can kind of come all the way from one side to the other. You can move your knees a little bit away from you if you want to. And you can kind of play with moving your legs around to find that weight and find that pressure through your back and see what feels good to you. So just move nice and slow. You're exploring. And then if it feels okay for you, allow your knees to roll all the way over to one side. And then allow your body to kind of roll back the other way. So your knees are going to stay down, but can you start to roll your upper body back down towards the mat? And then just hold it there and take a few breaths. And then to get back into centre, especially if you have got any back niggles, it's really useful to kind of press your arms into the floor just to give you a little bit of support to bring those legs back up. Just takes the pressure off your lower back. And then roll your knees all the way to the other side. And again, once your knees are down on the floor, you're going to roll your upper body back towards the mat. And just take a few breaths there. So you're noticing if it's different one side to the other. Is one side creating more tension, more tightness, and just notice how it feels. And then when you're ready again, use your arms if you need to. You don't have to use them, but it's kind of just Makes it a little bit nicer. Roll yourself back into centre, and again just allowing your knees to just roll gently side to side. You can let them go as far as you want to. And then we're going to place one hand on the top of each knee, and we're going to open the knees apart and circle around. So we're just going to do our little knee circles here. And then reverse that and go the other way. And then as your knees come in this time, I want you to place your hands just under your pelvis. So have your hands just under your pelvis, palms face down, and it's just going to support your pelvis a little bit and just tilt it back towards you slightly. And then we're just going to keep the knees bent, but you're going to open the knees wide and then bring them back in together. So opening the knees wide and then bringing them back in together. Now if that doesn't feel comfortable for you with your hands under your pelvis, you can take them out. Again, it's always just what feels good to you right now, what kind of feels like is the right movement to do. And then maybe straightening those legs out towards the ceiling, and can you open the legs wide? You can kind of play with this. You can have a slightly bent leg if you want to. You can have a straight leg, seeing how it feels. And then can you open those legs wide and slightly turn the legs out and just kind of hold it here. So this is like your legs up the wall pose, but if you haven't got a wall, you're having to support your legs a little bit more. So you can always do this against the wall if you have a wall available. It's kind of nice just to hold here as well. Alright, and then you're going to bend those legs back in, bring them in towards your chest again, and just allow them to rock gently side to side, and you can bring your hands out from under your pelvis now. We're going to let the feet come down onto the mat for our cobbler now. So soles of the feet together and knees open out to the sides. And then if it feels good to you, you can just gently rock a little bit side to side here. You can try putting your hands under your pelvis and see how that feels. So don't be, with this it's more about exploring movement and just seeing what feels good. There's not too many rules for this one. And if you've not got your hands under your pelvis, can you take your arms out to the sides and up towards your head? So you're kind of in that V shape. And allow your ribs to relax down. And just take some deep breaths here. And then we're going to bring our knees back in towards each other, and we're going to keep the knees bent now. So feet and knees hip width apart, feet are down onto the floor now. Have your arms wherever's comfortable. You can keep them up in that V or take them out to the sides or down by your hips, wherever feels good to you. We're going to do a pelvic tilt now. So take a breath in, and as you exhale, I want you to tilt your pelvis towards you, flattening out your lower back. As you inhale, tilt your pelvis back the other way. So keep going. As you exhale, tilt towards you. As you inhale, tilt away. And I like to imagine that I've got a little round tea tray balanced on my belly with a marble on it. So I'm rolling the marble towards my nose and then rolling it towards my toes. So as you just gently tilt your pelvis forwards and backwards. Doesn't need to be a big, huge move. And this is really good for freeing off the pelvis. We want the pelvis to be able to move really well. And again, often if you've just kind of been sat for a long time or you're a little bit stiff, it just doesn't move very well. So this is a really nice way to free up. So we're rolling that marble forwards and backwards. Can you start to roll it side to side now? So rolling the marble to one hip bone and then to the other. Again, not a big move at all. Just think how much movement you would need to roll the marble from one side to the other. So it's not a big, huge movement. Notice if your knees are really wanting to get involved, are your knees wanting to go? And try and keep your knees as still as you can. So just thinking about your pelvis, shifting side to side. And then we're going to take that into a circle this time. So tilting your pelvis towards your nose, and then tilt it to one side, down towards your toes, to the other side, and then back up to your nose again. So let's go around in a little bit of a circle, kind of smoothing off those edges to circle around. And then we're going to reverse and go the other way. So you're comparing again how that movement is from one side to the other. Because like everything else, you have one side that's usually easier. Good. And then as you come back in through centre this time, just bring your knees into your chest again. Give your knees a little hug and just rock gently side to side. So from here we're going to go into a spine curl. So if you do have anything under your head, just take it out of the way for this exercise. And then have your arms down by your sides, and you're going to anchor the backs of your arms down into the mat. Feet and knees are hip width apart. Take a breath. Tilt your pelvis towards you, and as you exhale, you're going to start to slowly peel your spine up away from the mat. Think about coming up bone by bone. Pausing when you get to the top, take a breath, and as you exhale, roll your spine back down. So I want you to keep your eyes fixed on the ceiling, which just keeps your neck in a really good position. As soon as you get down, we're going to do that again. Take a breath, tilt your pelvis towards you, and exhale as you roll your spine up. So moving really slow and deliberately. You're paying attention to how your spine feels as it articulates. Especially coming back down. I feel like it's easier when you're coming back down to see how it moves. So you're noticing whether you're able to get each individual part of your spine down into the mat, or whether there's one area that just doesn't want to come down. So quite often your very lower back doesn't want to get all the way down to touch the mat. So you're just noticing as you slowly roll yourself up and down, moving with the breath. So you're moving on your exhale. Think about your feet and try and press your feet straight down. So rather than pulling your heels back towards you or pressing your toes away, try and press both feet equally straight down into the mat. And that will make sure that you're using your glutes and your hamstrings a little bit rather than the fronts of your thighs as well. The other thing to notice here is it making your knees want to flare out to the sides? Can you keep your knees hip width apart? And I often think about sending my knees away from me, creating more length and more space to try and stop me from using the quads on the front of the thighs. I like to use those guys to do a lot of work. Alright, as you come down this time, you're going to hold down at the bottom and then just give your knees a little hug again, just to release any tension. We're going to do a little bit more with that position. But we're just having a little break in between. So we're going to go up to the top of that little spine curl again, and then we're going to go side to side. So let's do that again. So feet and knees hip width apart, anchoring your arms into the mat. Take a breath. Tilt your pelvis towards you, and as you exhale, rolling up to the top of your position here, and then hold it. Can you drop your ribs? So let your ribs soften and drop down, and think about lifting your hip bones towards the ceiling. Hold it here. Can you shift your pelvis side to side? So you're not twisting, you're trying to shift your hips side to side.
It makes me want to think of like a typewriter, you know, and the typewriter used to go to the side. That's showing my age, but that's kind of what it makes me think of. And then holding in the centre, can you lower your hips maybe just an inch? And then again, do that little side to side. Now you may not be moving very much, and that's absolutely fine. You may feel that you're twisting more than you're shifting side to side, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of kind of practice and getting your head around the movement you're doing. Back into centre again. Can you lower another inch? Another way to think about it is imagine that your bottom is on a little shelf and you're trying to dust all of the dust off that shelf with your bottom. So you're shifting side to side and not twisting. Can you lower one more time without touching the mat? Your bottom is just hovering off the mat as you do side to side here. Just hovering. Alright, and then lower your bottom into the mat. Again, just give your knees a little hug and just rock gently side to side. So we're going to do a little bit of a twisted spine curl now. So feet back down on the floor again. And I want you to tilt your pelvis to the right. So kind of tilt your pelvis so you've kind of got one cheek just lifted off the mat. All of your weight is more on your right side. And then can you tilt your pelvis towards you and you're rolling up the right side of your spine. So you're just kind of rolling up just to the right of your spine. Pausing at the top, take a breath and then exhale and roll down that right side of your spine. Again, it might take a bit of practice to get this. Let yourself come back in through centre. Tilt your pelvis a little bit to the left. We're going to roll up the left side this time. Take a breath. Tilt your pelvis towards you and exhale as you roll up the left side of your spine. Pause in at the top, take a breath and exhale, roll down the left side of your spine. When you get down to the bottom, you're going to level out your pelvis again. Tip it to the right. Roll up the right side of your spine. When you get to the top, you're going to level your pelvis out at the top and you're going to roll down the left side of your spine. When you get all the way down, we're going to keep the pelvis tilted to the left and we're going to roll up on the left side this time. When you get to the top, come back through centre, tilt to the right and roll down the right side. And when you get all the way down this time, again, give your knees a hug and just rock gently from side to side. Good. We're going to roll onto our side now. We're going to do some side leg work. So when you're ready, coming down onto one side. And have your head in your hand or you can have your bottom arm out long. And we're going to start with the climb. So knees bent, feet roughly in line with your spine. And then just take a moment to check your alignment. So making sure that your hip bones are stacked one on top of the other and those ribs are in. So you don't want your rib cage forwards of your pelvis. And then feet stay together as you open out that top knee. Making sure that your pelvis isn't shifting. Good. Keep going. Three more. And then we're going to keep the bottom leg bent, but we're going to straighten the top leg out and really reach that top leg. Make it as long as you can, and we're going to lift and lower that leg. Keep reaching it. Make it as long as you can. Think about space through your waist. We want to keep as much space here as we can so that the pelvis isn't tipping forwards and backwards. So we're building strength to stabilise our pelvis. A nice stable pelvis with muscles that support it is going to take any pressure off your back, yeah? So the muscles are stabilising the pelvis rather than your back having to do it. Good. Two more lift and lowers. And then we're going to take that into circles. So circling your leg around. Nice and slow, nice and controlled. Remember, the whole point of this exercise is to keep your pelvis still. So it's just your thigh bone that's circling in the hip socket. And you can make that circle as big or as small as you like, as long as you can control it. And then let's reverse that and go the other way. Keep reaching, make that leg as long as you can. Last two, reach. Last one. And then you're just going to bend that leg all the way back in. We're going to come up and over and do that on the other side. So when you're ready, just come onto your other side. So starting with that climb again, knees are bent, feet roughly in line with your spine, and take a minute just to check that your pelvis again is stacked one on top of the other. Feet stay together as you open out that top knee. So making sure that it isn't rolling backwards and forwards. Check your ribs, make sure your ribs aren't forwards of your pelvis. Good. So we're doing quite a few of these. We've got 5 more to do. And when you finish that last one, you're going to keep that bottom leg bent and straighten your top leg out. Again, really reach it, lengthen it, and lift and lower. Pelvis stays super still, just that thigh bone moving, so there should be no shortening of your waist. Good. And then let's do those circles again, nice and controlled. Keep reaching. And can you reverse and go the other way? Last two. Last one. And then you can bend that leg all the way back in. Roll yourself onto your back again, just give your knees a little hug. Nice. Okay, we're going to go all the way over onto our front now. So when you're ready, roll yourself over onto your front. Okay, and then we're going to do our scarecrow. So I want you to have your hands just slightly wider than your body, so out to the sides, elbows are bent. And then find a position that's comfortable for your legs. So you can either have your legs squeezing together or hip width apart, whichever feels better for you. And then rest your forehead down on the mat. Try and find your pubic bone and anchor that down into the mat as well, which is going to slightly stop your pelvis from tilting the wrong way. So by anchoring your pubic bone, you can feel immediately that it lengthens your lower back. Yeah, so keep that pubic bone anchored the whole time. Okay, can you roll your shoulders down away from your ears? So often I'll say pull your armpits down towards your waist, so find that. And then from here, can you lift your hands, just your hands off the mat first? Then can you lift your elbows off the mat? And then can you lift your head? So imagine somebody's picking you up by the back of your head, pulling you up towards the ceiling, and then lower your head, lower your elbows, and lower your hands. And we're going to do that a few times. So lift your hands, lift your elbows, and lift your head. Keep your eyes down on the mat. Lower your head, lower your elbows, and lower your hands. So we're going to keep going with this, just making sure that your pubic bone stays anchored the whole time. And you can go nice and slow, nice and controlled. And you're trying to find this work in your upper back, okay? So it's upper back, kind of around your shoulders. Keep going. As you lift your head and your chest away from the mat, notice whether you have a tendency to really push your rib cage into the mat. And if you do, can you try and keep your rib cage pulled into your body so that you aren't creating that shear of your lower back? Yeah. So if you're feeling this as kind of tension or pulling or tightness in your lower back, Check that rib position. Let's do one more.
And then lower all the way down. Push yourself up and back into your child's pose, just to give your back a little bit of a stretch. Reaching your arms as far forward as you can to give your shoulders a good stretch. And if it feels good to you, you can just shift your weight side to side in that child's pose. We're going to go back onto our front again for some hip extension. So when you're ready, come all the way back down again. This time you can have your hands one on top of the other, and you can rest your forehead down onto your hands. Same thing, legs can be hip width apart or squeezing together, and pubic bone is anchored into the mat, again to give us that length through the low back. When you're ready, you're going to reach one leg away from you. Make that leg as long as you can and allow it to lift away from the floor, and then lower it down. Do the same on the other side. Reach that leg, make it as long as you can, and lower it down. Keep switching sides. Notice if your pelvis is wanting to twist or that pubic bone's wanting to lift. Try and keep everything nice and still. And notice here, is your back trying to do all of the work? Is your lower back really wanting to tense up? Can you keep it just super soft, super relaxed? Should be your glutes that are working really hard here. And if you're not sure, put your hand back there and give it a poke. Make sure it's working. Sometimes we need to remind them that they should be working. So sometimes thinking about just gently squeezing them before you lift just reminds it that it should be doing some work here. Good. And the reason why this exercise is really good for your back as well is because it helps to build strength and it helps to build muscle mass in your glutes, which will then support your pelvis and obviously support your spine as well. So then you'll be able to walk powering yourself with your glutes rather than using your muscles of your spine. So really, really important. Okay, when you're ready, you're going to push yourself up and back again into that child's pose again. Just take a few breaths here. And then walk your hands to the right. So walk your hands to the right and slightly shift your hips to the left if that feels okay. So you're kind of leaning into that stretch, stretching down the left side of your body. Take a few breaths. Notice how you can really feel the stretch on that left side. If you take a real deep breath in, focus your breath to the rib cage on the left, you can really feel a big stretch there. Try and get as much movement through your rib cage as you can. And then when you're ready, walk your hands back in through centre and walk them over to the left this time. Again, if it feels okay for you, you can slide your hips slightly to the right, just leaning into the stretch. And take some deep breaths again. Can you feel now that right side of your rib cage? Good job. When you're ready, come back in through centre and slowly come back up to seated. Okay, we're going to do our strap stretch next, so grab your strap. So place it around the ball of one foot and then lengthen your other leg out long on the mat. So pulling the front of the foot towards you, pressing your heel away. And we want to really switch off the muscles of the leg because we're using our arms and we're using the strap to hold the leg there. So if your arms are getting tired and you feel like your muscles of your leg are trying to kick in, if your strap is long enough, if you can kind of wrap the strap around your hands so that you can then just let your arms hang and you're kind of using, gravity and the weight of your arms to hold that foot in place rather than you having to keep pulling it and creating lots of tension.
So if your strap's long enough, maybe try that, see how that feels. Keep pulling the front of the foot towards you, trying to find that neutral pelvis. So pelvis isn't tilted back. Again here, your hip bones and pubic bone are on that same level, so that we're getting a true release of the muscles of the back of the leg. Just holding here. You can never do the strap stretch too much. It's a little bit like the calf stretch. It's a really good one to do. Whatever you've been doing with your body, whether you've been exercising, walking, running, sitting, all of those. Strap stretch is good for everything. And if it feels okay for you, bring that leg across your body. So you're stretching more into your outer hip now. But don't let your pelvis lift. You're still keeping your pelvis anchored. Back of the pelvis is heavy on the mat. It's just the leg that's come across. And just taking some deep breaths. Bringing your leg back in through centre, slightly turn the leg out and take it out to the side. Remember, we're trying to keep our pelvis still and just take the leg out to the side, so don't let your pelvis tip. Really nice for the inner thigh. And then when you're ready, bring your leg back in through centre, and we're going to pop the strap onto the other leg. So just switching sides. Again, leg in the strap, you're going to pull the front of the foot towards you, press your heel away. Your other leg is out long. Find that neutral pelvis. Again, if you want to, if your arms are tired, you can try that, wrapping the strap around your hands and then just letting them hang. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me, thank you. Letting that leg just hang, super heavy. And then again, if it feels okay for you, bring that leg across without letting your whole pelvis tip, so just the legs come across. Stretching into your outer hip, outer thigh. And then bring your leg back in, slightly turn it out and take it out to the side. Couple of breaths there. And then when you're ready, bring that leg back in through centre, and you can get rid of your strap now, so just pop your strap down. We're going to bend the knees now. Let's have feet and knees hip width apart again, and we're going to go into that number 4 stretch. So you're going to bring one leg up and cross your ankle over your opposite knee. And we want this to be kind of fairly relaxed and fairly loose, so just float up your supporting leg and then just let that lower leg just kind of drop down. So rather than having to hold it at tabletop, let that leg drop down. Now you can support that leg if you want to, you can hold behind that thigh if you want to, or you can just let the legs just kind of hang there. And just hold here. Maybe it feels nice to just gently rock a little bit here. Again, you're just playing around with what feels right for your body. If you'd rather just stay still, that's fine too. Maybe it feels nice to kind of pull your legs a little bit closer towards you and then send them away from you a little bit, so you're kind of rocking them forwards and backwards rather than side to side. Maybe that feels good for you. And then if it feels all right, you're going to roll yourself onto your side so that the sole of the foot that's come across is going to go down towards the floor. So I've got my left leg across, so I'm going to roll all the way down onto my right side to let the sole of that foot come down towards the floor. If it's too much for you, you can stay in the centre, but if that feels good to you, you're going to just hold it there. And then again, can you think about bringing your upper body back down towards the floor? So it's like your upper back is flat on the mat, or trying to come flat to the mat, and your pelvis is rolled to the side. It's quite a lot of stretching through your hip. So if it's too much for you, obviously just roll back onto your back. But it is a really nice way of releasing tension and tightness through the hip and around your pelvis, which again can create stress for your back. To come out of this, again, you can use your arms, you can use your elbows into the floor as you roll yourself back in through centre. And then we're going to uncross that leg and do the same on the other side. So bringing your leg up, crossing your foot over. Once you're there, again, you're going to just float that standing leg up. And you can hold it if you want to. You can rock gently side to side if that feels good, or forwards and backwards. So again, you're just playing with what feels like it's doing some good for you. I must apologise, my feet are always filthy. I'm always trotting around outside with no shoes on, and then I always forget. And I look at myself on the screen and think, I really should have washed my feet before I was on camera. Sorry about that. It is very muddy and wet out there today. So we're just rocking forwards and backwards. And then let's do that rolling onto the side again. So if it feels okay for you, you're going to roll to bring the sole of your foot down towards the floor. And you can stay here on your side if you don't want to do the twisting back, or you can start to rotate your upper body back down into the mat. Stretch out here. Just taking some deep breaths. And then again, to come out of this, you can use your arms, you can press your elbows down into the floor to help you come back in through centre. Release the legs and then bring your knees to your chest again, give them a hug and just rock gently side to side. So we're going to go back onto our side again and we're going to do our crocodile now. So when you're ready, roll yourself onto your side. I'm going to keep my cushions here. You're going to take your bottom arm out long. Top arm's going to rest on top of that. And again, we're going to have our knees bent and our feet together. So we're going to keep the knees down. We're going to keep our pelvis super still and we're going to roll the rib cage the other way. So when you're ready, you're going to reach that top arm forwards. You're going to reach that arm up towards the ceiling and then you're going to start to rotate your rib cage away from your pelvis, bringing your arm down towards the floor. You can let your head follow your hand if that feels good to you. Once you've got to your maximum position, you're just going to hold it for a few breaths here. You've always got the option of having something under your head if it's not comfortable for your neck. But it is a really good stretch for your neck if it will come all the way down to the floor. When you're ready, we're going to start to reach that arm all the way back up. It's going to come all the way over. So just move nice and slow. We're going to do that a couple more times. When you're ready, reach that arm forwards. Reach it up towards the ceiling. Rotate your upper body away from your pelvis, from your leg, keeping the knees down on the floor. Once you're in that maximum position, just hold for a few breaths.
And then when you're ready, start to slowly bring your arm all the way back up and over. We're going to do one more time on this side. So when you're ready, reach again, up and over. So usually by the third time it's a little bit easier, maybe there's a little bit more freedom of movement. And then when you're ready, start to slowly bring your arm all the way back up and over and close that crocodile there. Roll yourself onto your back. Let's just give the knees a little hug again, just kind of rock side to side, just making sure that you've not created any tension or tightness in your lower back before we do the other side. And then when you're ready, come on up and over onto your other side and do the same thing on that side. So again, knees bent, arm reaching out in front. Once you've got your knees anchored into the floor, pelvis nice and level, you're not going to lift those knees. You're going to reach your top arm forward. You're going to reach it up towards the ceiling and then rotate your body away, opening out your chest. Once you're in that maximum position, just take a few breaths. See if you can find more softness and more release here. So again, try not to kind of hold tension and hold tightness and grip anywhere. Just try and allow your body to release. And then when you feel ready, start to slowly bring your arm all the way back up and over. When you're ready, go again, reach the arm up to the ceiling and rotate away, open out. Take a few breaths here. Again, you're just noticing if it's different on this side to the other side. And when you're ready, start to slowly come all the way back up and over. One more time on this side. When you're ready, reach. Take your arm up and all the way over. Hold for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, slowly come all the way back up and close the crocodile's mouth. Roll yourself onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest again and just rock side to side. Alright, we're going to come up to all fours now. So when you're ready, bring yourself back up to seated, and we're going to go on to all fours. So, fingers spread wide, thumbs point towards each other and elbow pits are forwards, and have your knees under your hips. Take a breath here, and as you exhale, you're going to tuck your bottom under, rounding through your lower back, your middle back, your upper back. Let your head just hang between your arms as you round your back towards the ceiling. Hold it here. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, let's go the other way. You're going to stick your bottom out. Roll through your lower back, your middle back. Think about bringing your chest through your arms. Your head is the last thing to move. Let's go again. Breath in. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone under, roll through your spine. Think about that movement rippling up your spine like a wave. Breath in, and as you exhale, go the other way. So just start to move with the flow of your breath and try and let the movement just flow. So rather than it being really rigid and kind of blocky, start to let the movement flow. So really good for your spine. Again, it's that articulation of the spine. We're trying to move the spine a little bit at a time. So you're noticing which areas feel like they don't want to move very much. And you're working there. So maybe if you notice that your very low back doesn't really want to move very much, but you've got a lot of movement through your shoulders, then really focus on that tucking of the tail to really round that lower back, and kind of you can just do just the lower back, or you can still keep going all the way up the whole back. So it's always about tuning into your body and seeing what your body needs to do and what feels like it's doing some benefit for you.
Let's just do a couple more here.
And then when you're ready, just come back down to seated. Just come off your hands. Just find a comfortable position. We're only going to be here for a minute. Just give your hands a little shake out. Maybe just circle your wrists around. Whatever feels good to you. Just give it a little shake out. Okay. So whatever position you're sitting in, we're just going to do a little side bend. So we're going to take one arm up and pop it behind our head. So do you remember how at the start we did that traction, that lifting of the head? So put your hand at the base of your skull, and again find that lift. So you're trying to create length and lift. Your other hand is going to come down towards the floor. We're going to lift through the spine, and we're going to take it into a side bend. I'm going to try and point that elbow towards the ceiling. So can you find that lift, that length, and point that elbow towards the ceiling and still lifting through the back of your neck? Hold just here, just take a couple of breaths. Trying to find more length and more lift through your side body. We've got length through the back of the neck, through the upper back. And then we're going to come all the way back up to seated. We're just going to do the same on the other side. So other hand comes down. The other hand goes behind your head again to kind of scooping up the base of your skull to lift, create that stretch through the neck. And again, take it over to a little side bend. Keep lifting, creating that space through the neck. Just again, hold here for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, come all the way back up, release your hand, give your shoulders a little circle, just gently turning your head side to side, just letting go of any tension, any tightness. And you guys are done. Thank you very much.